Pools is a first-person liminal space psychological horror game that sees you exploring a seemingly endless series of swimming pools. The game is available on Steam. Atmosphere. The atmosphere is mostly made up of apprehension and uneasiness. The perpetual tiled walls and oddly placed bodies of water feel wrong, suspicious in some way. Many rooms seem alien in construction despite still being swimming pools, and there's some menacing vibes to some areas. Many of the rooms have an odd sense of foreboding to them. Some feel like something is going to happen, but rarely does anything ever. Any abnormality stands out dramatically, and you can't shake the feeling that you're being watched or observed, that something is going on behind the scenes. The game is eerily quiet, and only the sound of your footsteps and the splashing and wading sounds you yourself create are often the only sounds that grace your ears. Atmosphere is all the game has, and everything contributes to it. Its construction. It's sometimes overwhelming because of how little else there is, but it's still very mild in comparison. That's one Harry Mason. Scares. The game doesn't really have any scares, just a menacing aura when it gets to its highest intensity. There are some dark tunnels that have entrances and no exits, and in them there's a strange and bizarre sound, something unsettling. Maybe the sound of a voice from another realm screaming through the dimensions at you. And for a moment there's an overwhelming feeling to leave, but there's nothing there, and very little ever happens. That's still one Harry Mason. Sound design. The game has some very subtle music tracks that are so low in the background it's easy to forget they're even there. It's light and fluttery ambient music that hides behind things. The rest of the sound design is just environmental audio, and most of it is elevated by how quiet the game's environments are. The dim buzzing of lights, the dripping of water, and the splashing and wading sounds that come from exploring the water. The directional audio and reverb work pretty well, but there are some strange choices, like panning each footstep between right and left ears, which drew attention to itself through the lack of any other real sounds, though it's mostly a personal dislike. The sound design works for the game and keeps up the immersion. That's two Harry Masons. Gore. There's no gore and the game didn't really need any. That's three Harry Masons. Story. Again, like many of these liminal space games, the less of a story there is, the better. It's clear based on some events that there is something else happening in the background, with ladders being pulled up into vents and fingers leaning around corners, and the end alludes to something, but what happened here is really up to you. Making the final score 4 out of 5 Harry Masons. Pools is a strange and unsettling game that was interesting to explore and seemed to go somewhere, though it's not quite as unnerving as games like the complex found footage. It has more of a foundation for something to happen though. It's also a benefit that the slides work in the game. They were pretty fun. Again, I'd like to remind you the whole thing is down to my opinion. Horror games who don't share this opinion, then that's cool, I get it. I'd like to point out that whilst I got my feet wet, I did not slip nor slide, and advise you don't either. There will be more horror reviews in the pipeline, and thanks for watching. Always go check out Bumps in the middle of the night. Peace.